Welcome to Dear Business Coach, the podcast. My name's Elizabeth, coming to you from the Walker Consulting Works studio. Find one thing to move your business forward today. With conversations, spotlights, interviews, articles, and free resources. Listen, follow, and subscribe on social media. Dear Business Coach Podcast. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. And don't forget Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, and anywhere you listen to podcasts. All it takes sometimes is one little thing to move your business forward today. Okay. Hi, Monica. Thank you for joining the Dear Business Coach podcast today. How are you?
I am terrific. It's a lovely Monday.
Yes, it is. And where are we talking to you from?
I live in a small town in Wisconsin called Baraboo. I grew up in Chicago, moved to Wisconsin in 1990, and I keep moving to smaller and smaller towns.
Well, I invited you here today because I met you in a chat room and learned that you've recently published a couple of chapters of work, and you have stories to share with us about becoming an entrepreneur and some lessons from your own journey as a business owner. So would you please introduce yourself to us?
Yeah, my name is Monica Marrone. I am an author, a health coach, and a speaker. And my passion is helping people become their healthiest selves so they can best serve others. And my tagline out on social media is living younger, longer. And it's my philosophy of approaching life in a way that says you do not have to let who you are or how old you are define what you can do.
A lot of defining who we are and what we do is a challenge, right? Because it feels that that's exactly what we have to do to be successful in business. So you're going to tell me a little bit about some of your secrets to success. And today you've brought to me specifically a chapter that's being released. I think this chapter is being released right now. So when this episode airs, this chapter is actually available to the world, right? And the title of your chapter that I have here is Be More, Make More, Give More. And this is from Becoming an Unstoppable Woman Entrepreneur. Did I get that right?
Yep, yep.
And I did want to kind of get some background about how you came into publishing, right? Because I think you were a business owner first. Is that right?
Correct. So I've had my business for about 20 years, and one of the skill sets that I developed that helped me meet you, as well as open the door for this publishing part, is that I do a lot of networking, either in person in the communities that I live in or online. And it was really a membership in a women's group called She Rises Studio that opened the door for me to be included in an anthology a year ago called You Can, You Will. And in that book, I shared my story of coming through a lot of really difficult times as a family. And being a part of that anthology opened the door to be a part of the Women's Entrepreneur book that's going to launch in a few weeks.
Was it difficult to jump into writing, sharing a personal story?
My husband and I did some work years ago with a couples organization called Retrovi that does ministry to couples that are really struggling in their marriage. And we had to write parts of our story for that ministry. And so I was used to sharing some of those kind of challenging moments in the past, but I hadn't written about them in a really long time before I wrote the chapter last year. And I really find that, sharing our stories builds relationships, and that, I've been involved with various 12-step groups over the years, and they say you're only as sick as your secrets. And so when you allow yourself to be vulnerable and share experiences that you have in your life, it really sets common ground, because I found that just about everybody in life has had some kind of challenging moment that they've come through, either with mental illness, grief, loss, addictions, codependency. It's like once you start talking to people, you realize just about everybody's life has been touched. And in the last couple of years, I've come to realize that, those painful experiences that we have in life, when you can reframe them from things that happened to you, just things that happened for you, you can find your strength in those challenges and use that to become your power. And I think that's really important in the entrepreneurial world as well, because growing and, and running a business is a challenging thing. So a lot of the skill sets from my personal life has helped me in my business life, and the other way around as well.
Right. Well, and like you said, you start talking to people and you realize that some of these challenges have touched just about everybody. And I've heard experts or coaches in the psychology world, say that it is important to think about building skills and relationships in your personal life to help with those challenges, because if you're a business owner, inevitably those challenges will bleed into your business world, or you have something to learn, about your relationships that will turn into skills you have in your business world too. Is that true, you think?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I reflect a lot now on how my business life and my personal life overlap so much in a positive way, because one of the benefits of being an entrepreneur is that it expands your reach, it expands your network, it expands the number of people's lives who you can touch in a way that never would have happened if I had stayed in the corporate world. And what I find a lot of times is that people that I meet through my business wind up becoming a lot of times clients and customers, but then they also wind up becoming dear friends. And so my life becomes this wonderful tapestry that it's hard for me to separate. So I feel very blessed by my entrepreneurial journey and by so many of the people that have come into my life through my business.
Well, I do want to ask you about your business, and you're going to help me here, guide me in the conversation, because your writing is about teaching other women these relationship building skills, is one way I would put it. Um, so maybe we'll talk about your publication here first, and then you can invite our audience to learn more about your business too. Um, but speaking of corporate world, you have an artistic background, but you were in the corporate world. And so in the beginning of your story, you tell us that you're about to be fired.
Yeah. Yeah, I worked for one company for 19 years, and they had a big corporate layoff where they laid off 200 people in one day. And I just kind of knew in my heart that was coming my way. And I was actually really happy about it, because I was just ready for a change. I had a toddler, and my heart just wasn't in it anymore. And on that day, I realized that I never wanted to be in that situation where my entire income was reliant on a corporate structure. And I send that message out to your audience, because they're business people. And I think in today's world, it's smart to have control over your income versus being reliant on all of it on a job situation. So, and the world's changing so fast that I think it's really smart to have various streams of income, various ways of making money.
Well, absolutely. Now, but isn't that scary? Did you have any experience when you were transitioning? Actually, let me back up. What did happen? Did you get fired?
Oh yeah, yeah. And Yeah, the young lady that laid me off, it was ironic because she actually was the head of the department at the time, but I had been with the company for so long that I was actually manager in the department when she was an intern. So she the tables had turned and she was like so anxious about delivering this message to me, and then so surprised that I was actually happy. They gave me a really nice severance package. And then they have you sign some papers to say that you're not going to sue the company. And what they do is they tell you they're eliminating your job. And then 2 months later, they hire someone else at, $20,000 less a year. And that reality really, hit to my heart that, yeah, I don't necessarily want to be a part of that system, long term.
Well, and then when you are starting to make that change into your own business, what did those first couple of steps look like for you?
Frankly, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't really have the skill set. I was very naive about how long it would take to grow an income and to grow a business. I wasted a lot of money on different kinds of advertising things. And it really was when I started to um, observe successful people and observe their skill set that I started to have some breakthroughs. And I break it down in my chapter for the book into like three primary skills that I've seen, all successful people have in whatever arena they're in. And one is that they ask a lot of questions. And, we're programmed at a really young age to answer when somebody asks us a question. And so if you ask a question, you're going to get some kind of an answer. And what I found is that a lot of times, you can just continue asking a question in order to get down to somebody's reality, that usually the first time they answer the question is kind of at the surface level. And if you continue the dialogue with them and dig a little bit deeper, um, you'll build relationship, but you're also uncover a little bit more about their truth. And I challenge myself sometimes when I'm out in public to just ask questions and see how long I can engage someone in a conversation. So asking questions, telling stories, and learning to graciously invite people are those three core skill sets. So I can share a little bit more about whichever one you're more interested in hearing about.
That doesn't mean I'm necessarily asking all the best questions. What kinds of questions do you like to ask?
Um, open-ended questions, and it was interesting because some years ago I got a certification as a health coach, and so a lot of these skill sets around questions that I had been learning over the years, it was interesting that they were the core part of what they taught us in this health coach study program. But open-ended questions that draw people out, what, how, tell me more about that. Generally, I try to avoid the question why, because often why it feels a little accusatory. And
Okay.
sometimes people will put a wall up when you ask them, well, why did you do that? But you can ask, how did you do that? What came next? How are you feeling when that happened? All of those kinds of questions tend to open people's minds and people's hearts.
It sounds like you're using concrete words. What happened next? It almost sounds like you're helping them build the story for you. You're kind of helping them put the pieces together. That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's a skill set. And then you so learning how to tell your story, is that something that is a skill set for you in terms of is that something you watch other successful people do, is they know how to tell their story? Is that what you
Oh,
mean?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm involved with a health and wellness company, and I used to go, this was, 20 years ago. So I'd go to a lot of in-person events and observe the speakers and also observe the people that were directly mentoring me. And I realized that they talk in stories, and much more so than science or facts. They would tell stories and use the story to illustrate the point that they wanted to bring to heart. And very often, like a classic format for telling a story would be, like what was your life like before? Um, what did you like or not like about it? What happened that changed your reality? What have you found now? And what is your excitement about the future? And if you can transfer that to your audience, they're going to be moving toward you rather than away from you.
Okay, that's fantastic. So you do have um, a soft but effective structure for conversing with someone and sharing stories. And I immediately just now picked up from what you just said what to do next time I'm talking to somebody a little differently, a little bit more effectively.
Oh, well, awesome. Um, and I was talking about how I would meet people out in public, and the fun thing that's happened in the last few years is I've been able to translate that skill set of meeting people out in public to social media, to online. And I was talking with a woman last night. She started following me. I don't even know how. We have no common friends. She started following me. She liked my content. A lot of times people say they like my energy. They're attracted by my energy, and they're attracted, I attract a lot of people over 50, a lot of women over 50, because they want to be healthy. They see me as a healthy, active person. They're attracted by that. But this woman, I had absolutely no connection with her other than social media. And so that's encouraging for me.
Yeah. Well, I do that too. I find people like yourself and I look for anything that I guess unconsciously, I'm looking at your videos, I'm watching your face, and I am immediately connecting to, like you said, your energy. And when I watch your content, I do feel like you are talking to me. You're very I feel like I'm in the room with you. Something I get out of your videos. So maybe that's part of how you're good at inviting people too. You are inviting me through your content online if I feel like I'm in the room with you.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes these business gurus, they will tell you to pick a word for the year, like your theme for the year. And sometimes I struggle with that, and I sometimes tend to push hard, and I put a lot of stuff on my head and on my shoulders, and then I get overwhelmed. And I just decided this year my word for the year was going to be authentic. I just need to be me, and I'll attract the right people. So I appreciate your feedback.
Oh yeah. Well, let's keep going. We talked about asking questions and stories, and the invitation, the art of the invitation is a section where you start to say, you have some folks that you like to follow, teachers that are mentors for you, lessons that you've learned about. We've heard the term permission marketing. And then you have an outline in your chapter here, be more, make more, give more. Again, that's from the Becoming an Unstoppable Woman Entrepreneur. The 7 P's for success. So I had some pieces of this writing that I picked out that made me kind of giggle. So you can walk us through the P's for success. And but one thing that you mentioned a second ago about building your conversation skills with practicing by practicing with people in public, that made me think of this part where you say you have to practice almost to an embarrassing fault. You almost kind of have to embarrass yourself a little bit. That's part of the practice. So you might want to tell me some more about that when you get to that P.
Sure, sure. Do you want me to try
But
to touch on
yeah,
all of
so the
these, or?
7 P's of success.
These are just, a kind of a fun way to bring together a lot of the key lessons that I learned, over the years. And one of my mentors, always talked about, you have to have a purpose. I mean, you've heard this from a lot of people, but once you define your purpose for why you're doing things, um, it just makes it easier to show up every day and know that you have a mission. And, most people have a mission to serve others, but that's become really important for me is being of service to other people, not just going out there to look at what I can get out of it.
Well, when you have a purpose, that's the first energy that you bring to a conversation. So that makes a lot of sense, right? So if you're coming to a conversation from a sense of purpose, then like you just said, you are there for that purpose and connecting with someone, not thinking about what you're trying to get out of the situation or out of the conversation or out of that person. Is that kind of what you mean?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. When your focus is on other people, when you're present, another P word, when you're present to them, um, they're gonna open their heart and mind up to your message a lot more.
Next one is passion. And so, what's the difference between purpose and passion?
I guess it's kind of a slight thing. We've sort of touched on some of it, but when you're connected with your purpose, that passion, that energy for what you want to do, it just kind of leaks out of you. I think. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to put words into it, but the passion is what makes you get up and get going and not give up and just, you know, want to show up every day.
Building the persistence. Persistence is next. Is it easy to just say, keep doing it every day? Is that enough?
Oh, it's like I think everybody that's in business has wanted to quit like hundreds and hundreds of times when things get difficult. And it's the doubt and the fear that'll creep up on you and make you want to just give up. And I picked up this line years ago from someone, doubt will take you out of action and action will take you out of doubt. And I
Mhm.
still use this one and it's uncanny, if I'm get into the like confusion mode, the fear mode, the anxiety mode, if I just push myself and take some action, it could be a small action, it could be making one phone call, it could be doing a post on social media, uh, taking the action just helps you to reconnect with that energy and gives you fuel to keep going versus, wanting to give up.
Okay, that's fantastic. Yeah, sometimes one little thing, even if it's just make a post, make a phone call, send an email, and you can change your day. And that's a big deal. So do you have a process for that?
Process is one of those things that I am still in the process of developing.
Okay, good.
I'm a creative person, so I always have like all kinds of energy and all kinds of ideas, and I have to slow myself down to do the process. But I've realized to continue to grow at the rate I would like to grow my business, that I need to implement more processes for new customers, for new team members that might join my team, for retaining customers. Yeah, that's one of those things that I know is important, that it is not my strength, I will admit.
Well, okay, so that's good. And admitting that, saying that you're a creative person helps you sort of put into perspective that you might need structure because you are someone who might have a lot of projects going on, or if you're a creative person, maybe you don't put everything on one piece of paper for the day. And I can relate to that. So having a process is a big deal if it helps keep you structured if you're not naturally that way. Is your plan. So what do we do with how do we build a plan?
It's interesting, although I sort of stumble up with the process, I'm actually pretty good at planning, particularly events. And I've been reflecting back on my career, because when I worked in the corporate world, I worked in the creative department for a catalog company, and I was a art director. And so I was very good at planning photo shoots, of planning trips, of planning things. But
Okay.
in my creative energy zone, a lot of times it was a little bit of organized chaos. But the interesting thing was people perceived me as an organized person because I had that ability to plan. And I still love planning events. Like this week, I have two events going on inside of the two different Facebook groups that I run, and I love that kind of stuff. So it's maybe the short-term planning of events that where I shine, and it's the longer term process things that I need to work on. But I know if I take that planning skill set that I know I have and focus it, I know I can conquer the process part.
Okay, good to know. I might be asking your advice about event planning sometime in the near future. I'd like to ask you now, but we'll save that.
Okay.
Okay, and so here we go. Practice. This is where I giggled. You said that by practicing, resistance starts to fade. When you start, you will be bad, sometimes embarrassingly bad. Okay. Is it okay to be embarrassingly bad?
Yes, it is. And one of the gentlemen that was one of my mentors when I first got started in network marketing, he would tell the story about just how bad he was when he first got started. And even though I heard him tell the story so many times, it still brought a giggle to my face. But he was so bad. He and his wife lived in what he called his crummy little apartment.
Okay.
And he would pick up the phone and call somebody that was on his list and say ridiculous things. And his wife did not want to hear him making a fool of himself. So she would go to the other end of the apartment and turn the water on so she didn't have to hear him. And he went on to become the positive thing is he just kept at it because he was determined to be successful. And he went on to build an organization, become a fantastic speaker. When he hated speaking in front of people. So he broke through his fear of speaking in front of other people. He developed a skill set that he needed for success. And he developed a business. He touched lots of lives, and he developed a business that, brought a, $500,000 a year income. And he's left that legacy business now to his wife, and I'm sure she'll pass it down to their daughter. So there's lots and lots of examples, but this is a personal example of someone that started out with no skills, and they had a determination, and they just kept at it, and they became hugely successful.
One of the big takeaways, one of the big things that your leadership will say is it's okay. You don't have to know how to do it right away. Yeah, that's great. Well, so then you also throw in this last P, not throw in, but it's here on purpose, the power. What does that mean?
It kind of goes back to some of the things that I touched on already, but through all of those disappointing and challenging moments when you make a decision to continue, even though you might want to give up, I think it develops like an inner strength that turns into your power that you can call on the next time you face one of those obstacles, because you have that knowledge of, hey, I came through that. And this applies to my personal life as well. You know, for anybody that's interested in learning more about my personal life and my marriage story, they can, contact me about this book. But, like I said, my personal life and my business life kind of overlap, but it's those hard moments in life and struggles in life. When you come through them, it just makes you stronger. And then you have that power to call on the next time you face a difficult moment.
You've said earlier that so many of us in business feel like giving up so often. And do you think that this having a power, something, those experiences to look back upon where you did want to quit and you didn't, for example, are ways that you build this power?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There were, I'll draw on the personal story, but there were numerous times during our marriage that I came pretty close to throwing in the towel on my marriage. And it was a lot of my faith that held me in it, but I don't have any regrets for making the choice to come through those difficult times. And now my son is 26, and I realized that if I had given up in the early dark chapter in our marriage, he wouldn't be here. So when I look at those personal life experiences, it also gives me strength to continue on my business journey. And like we started out talking about, like, how did I start doing this writing? And it was just an opportunity that opened up to me. And now it's helping me like broaden my brand to be about mental health as well as physical health. And I don't know, I'm rambling a little bit.
No, you're not. No, you're not. Yeah, absolutely. So we're building building mental health might isn't the way to say it exactly, but we keep talking about building skills. And I do believe that we can learn skills in mental health, with the help of professionals and coaches and connecting with others who have done and been in those places before. And like you say, drawing upon personal growth is a big deal for being able to call upon your power. So it is important. No, that wasn't rambling. Now that we've been through some of those key factors to persistence, process, plan, practice, having power from building those skills, you do spend time talking about the rewards of entrepreneurship. So despite all of this building and growing and learning, it's fun and it's rewarding. And you actually talked the first time that we met, you did say that this story about a trip to the Grand Canyon, I think you realized that there are a lot of women that you can connect with who probably need to connect with you, that there's um, a power in helping other women on a journey mentally, but this is an actual journey, an actual trip, and so that works too. So tell me about your trip to the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, so last year I turned 65, and every year I try to challenge myself to take on a new physical endeavor. So a lot of times it's running focused. I started running when I was in my 50s, but I wanted to do something different. And so I had this desire in my heart that I'd been kind of incubating for 30 years to go back and hike the Grand Canyon again. And my husband and I had done it when I was in my 30s. And at the beginning of the year, it was just this kernel of an idea in my head. And it really was the skill sets that we've been talking about, all the P's, all of the inviting and the asking questions, all of that fueled my ability to take this kernel of an idea, this dream, and turn it into a reality. And I had no idea if women would want to go and
Hmm.
if they would trust me enough to go on this adventure with me. But when I got my first yes, I want to go, I was so excited because all of a sudden the vision started to open up that this could actually happen. And it was rewarding for me to accomplish the task, but the real reward was giving the experience to three other women that decided to come with me because it just fits into my whole philosophy of being more and giving more. And knowing that I had given them this experience, none of them had ever backpacked before. So
Okay.
this was kind of a big first trip,
I would
like
say.
people die in the Grand Canyon every year. So I took all the preparation and planning part really seriously. But knowing that I gave them this experience and they came out of it wanting to do more backpacking was just so rewarding.
Now, wait a minute. Was that part of the plan was to invite people that had not been to the Grand Canyon before?
No, I just started spreading a wide path of talking to people that I knew that I knew were reasonably healthy. And in the end, we wound up with a woman in her 20s, a woman in her 40s, a woman in her 50s, and me. And one of the cool things was that it was a mother-daughter team. So Sandy is 50 something and her daughter Jenna is in her 20s. And so, and over the course of like the 8 months of planning, the group would grow and shrink and grow and shrink. And so that, all of those P's, the persistence of knowing not to give up, even though some people said they were going to come and then they backed out. Uh yeah.
Wow. Did some of the women on the trip feel like once they got to the Grand Canyon that they were in over their heads a little bit if they had not done this before, or how did you lead that?
Yeah, well, I was like the mother hen all summer long because we went hiking in September and I was constantly sending out information about, what gear to buy, what training to do. And one of the women lives in the town I live in, so we would actually be training together. And I knew the other two through the health and wellness business that I'm involved with. And so I
Mhm.
knew they were physically fit, but hiking in the canyon brings certain challenges. And they were drawing on the fact that I had done this before. I was like the resident expert. But it was 30 years ago. So we all kind of pitched in and staying abreast on current conditions in the canyon. And we wound up doing 2.5 days of hiking and 2 nights camping. And it turned out to be just right. I mean, it was challenging. The first day was really hard. And we faced some uh really challenging moments. One of the women had a knee that acted up. She'd had this knee injury and it flared up. Uh, Going downhill is the hardest part, much more hard than coming up. So we teamed together as a group, and our young lady, our 20 something lady, she went ahead and dropped her pack at the bridge by where you cross over the Colorado River, and she came back and carried one of the other ladies that was having the problem with her knee. She carried her pack for her, and so yeah, there were some challenging moments, but we teamed together and we came through it. And yeah, it was just great all around.
That's really cool. Well, I haven't been on a hiking trip that awesome, but I will say I do know what it feels like to go on a trip and come home feeling like you're a different person.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I bet that was you definitely changed lives that day, and you probably are still connected with those women and probably always will be.
Yeah, yeah. Sandy, a month or so after we got back, she said, "Where are we going to go next year?" So I don't know. I have a lot of other trips planned for this year, so I'm not sure if we'll do another backpacking trip this year or not, but maybe next year if we don't fit it in this year. But here's another example of, just how wonderful things happen. I decided I was going to read the book Atomic Habits, and I had picked the book up a year ago and was sort of an Atomic Habits dropout. So this time I thought, well, I'm going to gather a group of women again, or women and men, if any men came forward, but gather a group of people and go through the book together. And so I started putting it out on social media, and yeah, I got some of my regular folks that follow me all the time, but I have a woman that I'm not really sure how I met her either, and she decided to join the Atomic Habits Study Group. And then through the Atomic Study Habits Group, she became a new client for the health and wellness products that I endorse and recommend to people. So it's just another example of how, I don't know, you put something out there here and it comes back to bless you somewhere else. And then another interesting phenomenon, I told you I live in this small town in Wisconsin. There's a Facebook group here in town for people that live in the area. And through that Facebook group, I've met people on Facebook. They've turned into clients. And then I get to meet them in person because they live in this lovely little town that I live in. And now I can have them over to my home. And, we have social gatherings here and they bring their friends. So we're building community. So we're taking like an online Facebook experience and bringing it out into face-to-face relationships.
So tell me where we should look for you.
Yeah, so we're going to put up a QR code here, and you can scan the QR code and find lots of different ways to get in touch with me. But I have two primary Facebook groups. One is called the Living Younger Longer Tribe, and I'm actually celebrating 6 years of running that group. We have
Oh,
over
wow.
800 people in the group now, and I try to keep it fun and interactive. So my passion is really helping people, live healthy lives. And, I call it living younger longer. I try to keep this healthy eating, healthy lifestyle thing a lot of fun and lead by example, kind of exactly what we did with the Grand Canyon hike, to attract like-minded people that want to, take care of themselves, and not in an inwardly like self-care, self-obsessive mode, but in an outward way. Like take care of yourself so you have the energy and vitality to serve other people. And that's my core value. So we got the Living Younger Longer Tribe. Come on in this week, and I'm running a scavenger hunt, a 6th anniversary scavenger hunt, and I'm going to be giving some prizes away to highlight all of the great content that we've had in this group over the last 6 years. And then we have a smaller health challenge focus group. And each month I run like 1 or 2 week-long challenges around a certain theme. So this week we're running the ABCs of nutrition because it's National Nutrition Month. And so again, it's an interactive thing. You get a tracker to track some of your eating habits, and we give away prizes and we have fun. So those are my two groups on Facebook. And then, I'm happy to book one-on-one what I call a one-on-one power networking session with other business people. I love to connect with other people and learn about their business and share my business as well, and see what mutual connections or collaborations come out of that. And that's, how I wound up a guest here on your podcast. So yeah, anybody in your audience that would like to book a one-on-one with me and share information about their business, I'm open to that. Or you can book a health coach discovery call with me as well, where we'll take a dive into what your health goals are. And, I present you with some ideas and solutions and resources to get started on a healthier journey. Last message, I guess, would circle back to the day that I lost my job, and I made that decision that I didn't want to rely on corporate America. And you're obviously way younger than me. and the world is changing really fast. So I really want to encourage everybody in your audience to nurture their entrepreneurial spirit and develop various modes of making money. And I am growing a team again. If anyone is interested in the health and wellness arena, if you're a health practitioner or want to live a healthy lifestyle and help other people live a healthy lifestyle, I'd be happy to share with you information about the company that I affiliate with. I have had a nice steady income with this company for over 20 years. We have to be really, really careful about what kind of income claims we make anymore. But it's reliable and yet exciting and growing. And I'm going to be going on an incentive trip to Mexico in 4 weeks. And this is the second year in a row that I've earned the incentive trip after not earning it for 10 years. So the opportunity is there for anyone. And if you have that entrepreneurial spirit and like the idea of being healthy and helping other people get healthy, I would love to talk to you about that as well.
Thank you so much for joining me today. My name's Elizabeth, coming to you from the Walker Consulting Work Studio in Floyd, Virginia. This has been an episode of Dear Business Coach.